Sam Bankman-Fried, founder of FTX, got sentenced to 25 years in prison. Now, is this a fair sentencing? Should he have gotten more? Should he have gotten less? Is this about right? I actually asked the community, and here are the results. Now, I believe this whole sentencing is a nice reminder again, right? You might have noticed I don't cover these kind of stories too often because I don't really think we can get a lot of alpha from this. The reason why I am in the crypto market is to simply outperform the market. And simply just following a story of how a fraudster gets sentenced will not really help me beat the market. But there is a good reminder here. And that reminder is, do you really want to give your funds away to a third party for custody and then potentially lose those funds? Too many people, I believe, are using centralized exchanges, especially using them long-term, potentially even storing a lot of their long-term holdings of crypto in those centralized exchanges. I can understand to a certain degree, if you've got very much risk on capital and you really enjoy using those levered products, etc., that sometimes temporarily using something like Binance might make sense. But I don't really understand how you can have lots of your long-term holdings in those centralized exchanges, because the outperformance you get from this, right, the staking programs, etc., they aren't that much more impressive, they aren't that much more attractive compared to just using decentralized ways. And so I believe most people are simply just too lazy to learn how to use Web3, to learn how to use MetaMask or the Rabi wallet, to learn how to use a hardware wallet, to learn how to use all of this technology. It's simply just laziness. They can simply just sign up for something like Binance, register with an email address, use this like any other web platform, and they're fine. Fortunately, the risks aren't that obvious, right? But this is a nice reminder again that there are hidden risks. And if you've got too much money custodied by a third party, where you might potentially not even know where the headquarters are, right? For Binance, for example, you can't even sue them. And in case you can sue them, you don't even know if you would ever get your money back. Do you really want to have a lot of your wealth risked under these kind of circumstances? You can avoid this, right? You can, of course, do self-custody. You can use Web3. The fees for swapping might be higher, especially on the Ethereum chain. But if you avoid the Ethereum chain, if you use other chains, then the fees aren't even that different. So there's really no need. Once you've got a lot of money, right, then even the swapping fees don't matter that much. If your crypto portfolio is already $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, then even if you spend $20 on a swap on Ethereum, on a single position, doesn't really matter that much, right? The risk of having third-party custody does matter much more. So that's one aspect, right? It's a nice reminder. But on the other hand, I don't even believe that the best opportunities in crypto are in those centralized exchanges, because centralized exchanges don't offer all cryptos. Centralized exchanges only offer a very small subset of cryptocurrencies. And the real opportunities in crypto are when the cryptos are still very small, right? How can you get 10x, 100x returns? It's not when a cryptocurrency is already in the billions of dollars in market cap. It's when they are maybe at 10 million, maximum 100 million in market cap. That's where you get multiple x returns. So when we already take on that much risk by dealing in the crypto market, by dealing with all of that volatility, then why only invest in those larger coins that might potentially even be manipulated when you can also expand your horizon, your universe of investable assets by using Web3, right? Why limit yourself that much? Of course, it needs a bit of skill, right? Because once you step out of the centralized exchanges, you have some risk to buy into honeypot coins, so into tokens that you can buy but that you can never sell. So there are frauds, obviously, also in decentralized finance. But if you want to get the nice returns, then we have to take on more risk. And risk is simply just a translation of unknown factors, right? If you say own a farm, then you've got the risk of the weather. You don't know what the weather will be. But if you own a farm and you have got the risk of not knowing what kind of crop or what kind of seeds to buy, then that's not really a risk. That's simply just a lack of skill. And the same true for Web3, right? If you don't know what kind of token to buy or what kind of tokens are honeypots, then this is also simply just a lack of skill. It's not doing enough research. It's not discussing the tokens with other people that are skilled. So you can mitigate a lot of the risk simply by knowing more, simply by being more skilled. And so this is where we all want to be, right? We want to have low risk compared to high return. You can reduce the risk by knowing more, by being more skilled. You can keep those high returns by having a very large universe of investable assets that you get into. And on centralized exchanges, unfortunately, the universe is already narrowed down to the bigger altcoins, to the ones that will not do the 10 and 100x's that easily. And again, there is manipulation by those centralized exchanges. Centralized exchanges don't just hold the funds of their customers. Centralized exchanges also have some cryptocurrency on their books that they hold themselves. And they might hold this themselves for market making. They might hold this themselves for manipulating the price. And that's a problem, right? Because if you say bet levered X on a rising cryptocurrency and they own a lot of the supply, not just in terms of customer funds, but also for market making, they can dump the price, right? They can push the price down, generating liquidation fees. And of course, liquidation fees are always nice for the centralized exchanges. So be very careful, right? I do not see as much manipulation in DeFi because it's way more complex. It's way more expensive to manipulate prices in DeFi, in Web3. But it's not necessarily the case for those centralized exchanges. Fees are much lower. Ownership can be much more concentrated. And so it's not necessarily safer to trade the larger assets that are listed by those companies. It can even be safer to trade the things in Web3, right? Directly with MetaMask, with Rebbe, together with a Ledger hardware wallet. This can be safer if you do your due diligence, if you don't just buy a random honeypot coin that went up 100,000% because nobody was able to sell it. So that's a big reminder of this again, right? Sam Bankman-Fried ran away with a lot of money. Apparently he still has 11 billion somewhere that he now has to give away. Who knows where that money came from? But yeah, it is a reminder that you do not want to have a lot of your wealth handed over to somebody where you don't really know whether or not you can trust that person. So feel free to subscribe in case it's your first time here. Feel free to also give this a like. It will help the channel grow, and see you next time. Cheers!